1 month from today, we are in convention season. Next on Face the State, who will the parties endorse for governor? Today we'll talk with Democrat Joe Ganim, who has surprised the party with his ability to raise money. Also, Republican Steve Obsitnik is with us. He's hoping an outsider businessman is the key to victory. Our flashback, remembering First Lady Barbara Bush when she lived in Connecticut and came back to visit. It's all straight ahead this Sunday morning, April 22nd, 2018.
From Eyewitness News, Connecticut's most watched local political program, this is Face the State.
Good morning and thanks for joining us today on this Sunday morning. I'm Dennis House and we are focusing on the governor's race because the state political conventions are only a couple of weeks today. And with us today, a Democrat who surprised some people when he announced that he raised $500,000, more than that as a matter of fact. He is Bridgeport Mayor Joe Ganim. He is 58 years old. He's in his 6th term as mayor of Connecticut's largest city, interrupted by a prison term. Ran for governor in 1994, and later that year he became the Democratic nominee for lieutenant governor in 1994. And Mayor Ganim is with us today, and good to see you here again, Mayor.
Yes, my pleasure as always.
When we go back to 1994, do you ever think about what would be different in your life had you become lieutenant governor?
It's funny, I was with John Larson, now Congressman Larson. We ran together, and he was like, well, you know, voters are usually right, but maybe in 94 they kind of made a mistake. And I'd like to think the state would have been a better place. I think we would have focused on the economy and jobs. I think that we would have built our cities up. I think we would have been ahead of where we need to be on things like investments and infrastructure, understanding the challenges of keeping a good environment, some of the tender social issues that I think we stand for and I'm fighting for in this campaign. So, yeah, it would have been, I think, but now's an opportunity again, and our state's in far worse shape maybe than it was even then.
John Larson, as the Senate president, was initially opposed to the income tax, as you were as well.
Right.
Is it a mistake to have that income tax? Because a lot of people are now saying, particularly columnists, are saying that's when Connecticut's troubles really began, when the income tax was implemented in 1991.
Well, it's there. It's been there for however many years that is now, since '94. It's become such a large part of our budget that I think it's crazy for someone, unless they really have some magic that I don't know about. And I've been balancing budgets in a tough place, you know, state's largest city for over a decade. But you can't just take a huge revenue source and just say we're going to do away with it because it makes a popular campaign rhetoric. So you have to be credible. So I don't think that that's just going to go away. Look, I'm always sensitive, and I've had a record of holding the line on taxes, even cutting them at times, and that would be my goal. And then it becomes which is the most regressive and how do you approach it. But you can't have what you have now, which is you have revenues and expenditures missing each other by hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars. That's no way to run a state or government. We need to fix that, and I want to do that to, as I say, put Connecticut back on track for everyone.
As you know, Republican Mark Boughton is saying he is going to eliminate the income tax. He has a plan over 10 years. Other Republicans are saying they want to reduce it. Should the Democrats, if they want to be successful this fall, come up with some sort of a plan to tell the voters of Connecticut, well, you know, we're going to somehow reduce this income tax or maybe get rid of it?
Yeah, the last Republican governor that did that came out and said he was going to go away with the income tax. It was campaign BS or rhetoric. Never did it.
John Rowland.
Right. And so I think you've got to, you know, history kind of can repeat itself. I hope that's not what happens here. I hope that me, and I represent the Democratic Party in many ways in this thing, remain someone who is, look, I balance budgets. I know how to fix a bankrupt city, let's say, put it back on track without doing bankruptcy, and look at the challenge of the state of Connecticut, and not easy and not without difficult decisions, put it back on track with reliable revenue expectations and then a fix on how to control our expenditures.
You have said that you expect to be on the ballot, the primary ballot, in August. Do you expect to win the convention? Is that feasible?
You know, it's such a crazy process this year. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty. I've talked to the other candidates. Nobody knows what's going to happen at the convention. That doesn't mean it's bad. That's politics. And hopefully it's an open convention where everyone is a part of the process. I'd like to see everyone who wants to, has something to offer in the way of ideas and a vision for Connecticut as a Democratic candidate for governor, come out of that convention with the ability to be on the ballot. I think that's good for the process. Anything else would be bad.
So you're not expecting one candidate to walk out of the convention as...
Could happen. I don't think so.
A unified candidate.
I've been around over 100 towns, cities and towns. I think that there's strengths that I bring that no one else has, whether it's problem solving in a public sector environment like a city. Others claim to have other strengths. we have a grassroots kind of quiet but growing louder grassroots effort that has developed not just in our cities, although I think our cities are the way of the future, or the engines that drive a new Connecticut economy, but in all our cities and towns, that's growing quietly from people in neighborhoods. So if it means going out and getting, as I've heard other candidates doing, one way or another, we're going to make sure that we're not only on the ballot, but we're a force to be reckoned with, not just because of politics, but because of the future of Connecticut. And as a city, mayor of the largest city, this is real important to all of us.
After a judge ruled against you in terms of getting public financing because of your criminal background, you surprised people by raising more than $500,000. And now you're kind of back in the game. There were some people who thought that ruling might put you out of the mix.
Yeah.
How are Democrats reacting to that?
You know, I don't claim it, but this underdog status of they throw up roadblocks. I'm a comeback mayor, as you know, someone who's taken on challenges before. That was another roadblock. I think it's unfair. I think it's wrong, but it's what it is. So we accept the things in our life or in our political life in this instance, and we've moved ahead. Yes, $500,000 is a huge amount of money, dwarfing, and I think more than dwarfing in the amount of money, but the broad-based support that it demonstrates shows that where money's a factor, we'll not only be competitive, but we need to get our message out, which is a better Connecticut economy for everyone, jobs, a focus on cities, and the things that make a difference in people's lives, whether it's education or the environment. So I'm confident through hard work. There's no magic. I don't press a button like some of these millionaires. You know, we've never been a state that kind of favors, at the end of the day, millionaires throwing their own money in to try and buy elections. I'm much more comfortable, despite the fact that I'm fighting from individuals, you know, to get support as opposed to be given a huge check of public money or to get millions of dollars from self-funding. That we're going to not only have enough, but be what we need to be in this campaign.
You actually met Mayor Luke Bronin at a taping here at Face the State a couple of years ago when you were both first elected. Now he's out of the race. He's decided that he's not going to run for governor. Those Hartford delegates and his support are now up for grabs. Do you expect to be the recipient of that, or at least some of them?
Well,
being a city mayor?
Big city mayor, there should be a partnership, I think, of ideas, challenges, and solutions for our cities. I've talked about a comprehensive urban strategy that I think we need to foster and that I'm willing to lead on. The Mayor of Hartford has been a megaphone in a positive way for the challenges of urban centers for Hartford and in many ways for others. I was in Hartford earlier this week, Tuesday night, and I sat with many of the local elected officials, delegates, members of the boards of education, and talked in depth about the real behind the scenes, what needs to be done in Hartford, and have a much more better understanding of that. I think there's a bridge and a bond that's been created and it's growing for Bridgeport and Hartford, New Haven, Waterbury, that I think can in many ways benefit not just the big cities, but every city and town with a comprehensive plan. Look, if Connecticut's going to succeed, we want our cities to succeed. We don't want people to say, oh, gee, how come this is going on or not happening in Bridgeport, Hartford, New Haven, Waterbury, New Britain. And I'm to see to it that as a voice now, a big city mayor who understands those challenges, that gets heard, and hopefully as governor, that gets fixed.
10 days ago, you were highly critical of the Hartford bailout by state lawmakers in the state. Now you've tempered your position a little bit since Mayor Bronin has now dropped out.
Well, the timing.
Why so?
That is a timing, but it was really a learning process that happened that night, and in conversations and understanding. One, frankly, there was, as I said, sticker shock when I supported. When I have a city and neighborhoods coming to me saying, hey, Mayor, our taxes are high. Hey, Mayor, we need more police officers, and talking about Bridgeport. And headlines talk about huge millions of dollars going to another city, and they put me in a position where, of course, I got to fight for my city. But I also recognize the plight, and I've been supportive of the $40 million, let's say, that was talked about for Hartford. But after Tuesday night, understanding the depth and how that came about and getting past the sticker shock, I shared with them the fact that I need to support Hartford, and we need to support as part of supporting all of our cities for an urban agenda that works for our cities, but for Connecticut.
There's some talk that perhaps you will leave the convention with Mayor Tony Harper of New Haven as your running mate. Right now, there are no lieutenant governor candidates in the Democratic Party. What do you think of that?
Tony's an outstanding public servant, there's no question about it. And if she had an interest in changing roles, she could be running for governor as easy as anyone in the state and command great support and respect. We've partnered on Amazon. We partnered on jobs for whether it's through MGM's proposal and between Bridgeport and New Haven. So we have a strong partnership and a respect. I hope that'll carry through in an agenda that's good for cities. I know the challenges she's facing, so I can't say what's going to happen at a convention, but I have great respect for her and would look forward to working with her in every capacity, whether it's mayor to mayor, governor to mayor, or in whatever capacity we decide is best for our cities and for Connecticut.
Briefly, I want to talk about some of the other Democrats in the race. Susan Bysowitz, Ned Lamont. What makes you a stronger candidate than them?
Well, here's the thing, and they're great individuals. I'm the guy who, for better or worse, been knocked around. I call myself the imperfect candidate, kind of just in some ways, yeah, I'm mayor of a big city, a regular guy. Have run the state's largest city with the challenges that meet or exceed the challenges that Connecticut faces right now. We're off on the wrong track on a budget. We all say the same things about our caring for fully funding of education, creating jobs, but I'm kind of on the front lines doing it and have done it with a record that people can look at while holding the line on taxes. So to drop in from somewhere else, whether it's Greenwich or somewhere, and saying, hey, I got a lot of money and I can fix this problem, if people think that's the right way to approach this, I much rather look at my campaign, my candidacy, and what I've done, and imperfect as it is, someone who's willing to roll up their sleeves, make tough decisions, and in this case, I think put Connecticut back on track for everyone in Connecticut.
Final quick question. Recent poll numbers show Governor Malloy's approval rating at 21%. How can a Democrat be elected in November following a governor with that kind of approval rating?
Yeah, you know, I don't pay much attention to polls, but those are his polling numbers apparently, and I don't know that impacts at least the things I've been talking about. People want someone who's, in my case, who's run against the system when I had to, run against and don't always agree, certainly with the governor on a lot of stuff, as recently as how we approach funding for my city and other cities. And it's going to be about a positive vision for change for Connecticut. And someone who's been there, solved problems, and my approach is to bring people together to do it. So I think that's quite different. And I think hopefully something that Connecticut's ready for, with a positive view on fixing the problems, whether it's transportation, education, balancing the budget, and making a difference in the lives of people, not just in cities, as I've said, although emphasis on the importance of cities in every city and town.
Mayor Joe Ganim, candidate for governor. Best of luck at the convention.
Yeah,
we'll
thanks.
see you there. When we come back, we'll talk with a Republican who's running for governor, Steve Obsitnik. And we welcome your comments, and you can also watch past interviews of Face the State on our website, WFSB.com, also our new YouTube channel as well. We'll be right back.